my ex-stepfather, he had done something to my sister, who's his daughter. And I came to school one day and had something in my bag because I was gonna, after school, go to his house.
How's a water buffalo?
This is a Buff Talk.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Old School Matt here. We are back with another Buff Talk, and today we have two new guests. Levi couldn't make it out, so we had to call the boys for some reinforcements. We're with our boy, Brendan Olivero. I don't know how to say your last name. Oliveria. He doesn't speak Spanish, though. And we're with our boy, Chris. What's your last name, Chris? Trevino. And we're going to have a Buff Talk today. So without further ado, I'll let B introduce himself first, and then I'll let Chris go next, and we're just going to have a conversation. So what's up, boys?
What's going on? My name is Kairos. I'm your grandma's favorite singer. I make music. I love water buffalo. I train, and I'm here. I'm swinging to my boy, Chris.
What's up, guys? I'm Chris Trevino. Big popular for my WTF workout Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Hey, try to speak in the mic if you can.
I work out. I work a full-time job. Other than that, I don't really do too much interesting.
Yeah, so we got the boys out here today for the podcast, and I don't know, we didn't really have a topic on mind today, but what I was thinking about was potentially doing a episode where we just talk about some different stories. I know Brendan and I went to middle school together, so maybe we could start up in middle school, tell some crazy stories in middle school, and then move on to high school where I met Chris. You remember anything from middle school, Brendan?
Yeah, I remember a couple things. Let me see.
I had to get his beautiful voice in there.
I remember one time I was with my I'm just gonna tell random stories. I remember one time I was with my girlfriend. You know the space right next to the gym, like that kind of lounge area.
Yes, where they sell food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend were back there and we were making out, and these two kids, these twins, that you probably know as well, that went to Emerald Cove.
Two twins.
Yeah.
Who are the twins?
I won't say names, but I'll tell you. I'll show you after.
Okay.
They came in, like they didn't even see us, and they just kind of walked past us, and they're trying to pry that door open to get into the snack room in the lounge, and then I guess they finally turned around, and I was just there like looking at them, and they were like, "Do you want something?" And I was like,
Who was your girlfriend at the time?
A girl named Vanessa.
Vanessa, you still talk to her? No, you don't talk to her anymore?
No, definitely
Haven't seen her since?
Are we talking Emerald Cove?
Emerald
Yeah.
Cove.
Okay.
Well, what middle school did you go to?
Talking the old days.
Coniston.
Middle School.
There's a lot of fights there. I remember.
There were a lot of fights, yeah.
Were you in any of
There was a
them?
lot of fights.
No, I was not actually. Middle school was weird. It was like there's a lot of people I didn't even know, and it was like kind of like I guess you would say like a rowdy middle school. There's a lot of fights, a lot of action going on all the time. Friends going to the principal's office and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I just stayed focused on my work. Got class done.
What?
Went home. Yeah.
Have you ever been in a fight in school?
No, never in school.
Never.
Never.
You ever came like really close to it though?
No.
Dude, what the heck? You?
No, I've never been to. If I was gonna say that too, our middle school was like notorious, known for fighting. I was gonna kind of like get into that too. Maybe some like things that happened in middle school. Like, why do kids fight with each other?
I'll tell you my Emerald Cove fight story is the only one I ever had in school.
Yeah.
This kid, I remember his name. I don't know if you guys know him. His name is Michael Min. He would always go around in like PE, and he would always say like, "Oh yeah, I'm a boxer. I'm da da da," and we're like, "Dude, no, you're not." I don't know if he really was, but we'd just be like, "No, you're not." Whatever. And you know how like sometimes Coach Morgan or like Coach Johnson, they wouldn't. So we'd have to line up on the track, do a lap, and then we can do whatever we want, whether it's flag football, basketball. But he would not like get in line. He just wouldn't get in line just to get attention or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was respectful. I was like, "Hey man, can you get in line? Like I want to play ball." And he was like, "No, And I was like, dude, just get in line, man. He was like, shut up. And I was like, okay, that's why you have no friends, right? That's why you have no friends. Remember, he came up to me. He must have thought I was total, and maybe I was total bitch made. And he like slapped me in the face in front of everyone. And I was like, I looked at everybody, and everyone was like, and just out of instinct, I just punched him in the face, man. I don't remember what I did. It was probably really sloppy, but I remember I just hit him in the face. He fell, and as soon as he fell, I just got on top of him, and I was just raining down on him. And then Coach Johnson pulled me off.
Yeah.
And with his like freaking roid rage voice, and he was just like, get off of her now. And I was like, I started crying, doing the angry crying, and I was like, I want to kill you. I hate you. And then the next day it was like that.
Suspended.
Suspended. But when I came back to school after suspension,
Yeah, you seem like
cool.
you feel like a badass.
that was cool.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of ego.
I the only fight I ever got into was with I told the story on one of the podcasts me and Levi did, but it was with Ben Lamb at a Future concert. I don't know if you went to that one. Future, Kodak Black. I'm sure you were there.
Was it over here at Cruising?
Yeah, it was with Cruising Amphitheater. But no, I don't know why people used to fight in middle school. I feel like maybe it's just like a testosterone thing, but I feel like everybody in middle school fought. Like I didn't fight, but the majority of people, it's just like you want to fight one day and people would just fight.
Yeah, dude,
It was a weird thing.
I remember like people would meet up in the bathrooms like
Yeah.
to fight
Yeah.
before in middle school, and like people would be in there just like just watching. Dude. It'd be like a crowd full of people in
I
this
know.
tiny little 2-stall bathroom, you know.
I feel like the later grades of elementary is where like egos start to get planted, and then and middle school is when they start to grow, and then high school is like an ego's prime. So if you have a pretty good ego, as in like you don't really have one, then it'll be even better in high school. But if in middle school, like you're already growing a pretty like bad ego, then by the time you get to high school, it's going to be like that. So I think that's why we fight, because in middle school, that's when we start to get things like, false sense of pride and ego, and like I want to be tough, and that's
No, I feel you.
that's how it starts.
Yeah, it's kind of like the psychology of growing up and like your environment and how it impacts your character. That's one of the podcasts we had too with Levi, but maybe we can get into that too. Like, do you guys think that your environment, and I'm gonna say something that Chris told me a little while ago. You want to move that up a little bit?
Could I move that down? Like,
Yeah. We're touching tips real quick.
Hell yeah, that's all we do.
But no, like I'm gonna say something because Chris, you told me that when you got into a relationship for the first time, it was hard for you to like actually love somebody because you never saw it growing up, sort of thing. Do you think that growing up in middle school, like if you were an aggressive person in middle school, like you were saying, it carries over to high school, and how you're kind of like your adolescence really shapes the type of person you are, and it's kind of hard to get out of that cycle. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a hard thing to overcome, especially if you haven't been surrounded by the tools that everybody should have, but sometimes we're not fortunate to have those things.
Yeah. I think personally it's a hard thing to overcome, but like you said, not impossible. And I think at first, we're all products of our environments, product of our environment. But then like after you get out of that environment and you see that you get a better sense of what you feel is right and what you feel is wrong and how the world actually operates, then I feel like after a long period of time, you can't use that as a crutch. And I feel like at that point, if, you haven't changed for the better, then it's just holding on to something because too afraid to change.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely also agree. I believe that if you are that type of person, throughout your life, starting from elementary school to middle school to high school, it will probably stick with you. It's probably something that'll stay. But if it's something that you want to change, like you realize it's a toxic behavior, it's something that you want to grow past, then you will find the means to change it.
Yes. Once you're conscious of it and then there's no excuse.
Absolutely.
There's no excuse.
Definitely. And like we were kind of circling back to like the different things. Like a lot of people in middle school, they never really got it. Like I'm sure you guys both know people from middle school and high school that they have the same character today that they did like 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I would say the majority of people. I don't think I do.
I honestly, I wouldn't say the majority of people.
No.
But I would say
more than not.
I would say maybe a little less than half. And it's just at some point at some point we all grow up, just some sooner than others and some way later than others.
But that's not a bad thing necessarily. There's a person I'm thinking of specifically who was a really goofy kid in middle school, and now he's like really famous like on social media because of his personality.
Yeah, it applies to all aspects.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's like you have to change out of your middle school self, but I'm just curious. I mean, I think a lot of the people that I'm friends with or acquaintances with today, there are a lot of them. I would say, like I said, more than half are the same person, just an older shell of themselves. And it's crazy because you see their actions in middle school and high school, good or bad, and you can see how that person like over time develops that character, and they never like either overcome it or they just stay in it. And I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's just something to think about. You know what I mean?
It applies on a broad spectrum, but I would say I would go a little higher up. I would say sophomore. I would say like sophomore year of high school. Mm-hmm. You get a pretty good idea of who somebody's going to be. Now, that you can always change for sure, but I feel like that, at least for me, I've seen, if I can think to everyone I know now from high school, which is better because I've been to different middle schools. Like I went to Okie first before Emerald. I would say that's like the most constant thing as I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say that though, is because I do feel like I know a lot of people that I've known when they were younger who are exactly the same person now. They're obviously different. Like they might work a full-time job, or they might, spend their money in different areas or things like that. But they still have like the same morals and like the same like goals, I guess. And it's I wouldn't say it's sad. I would just say it's interesting to see that they're still kind of chasing the same stuff that they were chasing like back when they were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. But some of those, like I said, some of them are good things. Like for example, I can think of some kids who are really like athletic in middle school that are like continuing to do what they were doing in middle school. So obviously that's a good thing. They were put in that environment. Mm-hmm. But I think each of us in this table have all changed from our middle school and high school selves. So like, what broke your barrier? We'll transition into that. Like, obviously, you're not the same person you were in middle school. No. Your personality is a little different from what I remember you of. What broke that barrier for you? And obviously, it doesn't have to be one specific moment, but it could be like a collection of things.
I don't know. All I know is like, especially in middle school, I was very like attention seeking, and I would go out of my way to be the class clown. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was so focused on being like having the most friends I can have, and then you transition to high school, and then I kind of used my childhood, my rough childhood, whatever, as a crutch, and then turned it also into another person I didn't want to be. But I think when I started doing poetry, mm-hmm. and my mentor, my teacher, Mr. Lobsher, shout out Mr. Lobsher, because I'm gonna send this to you. Yeah, he was the man. I remember one day, we're gonna get dark here. I remember one day, my ex stepfather, and he had done something to my sister, who was his daughter, and I came to school one day, and I had something in my bag, because I was gonna, after school, go to his house, just take Uber to his house and just do the deed. And Mr. Lobsher saw as I was getting out my folder for his class, in creative writing, and he didn't like make an alarm about it. He just asked me to come outside with him for a second, and we went outside, and he asked me what was in my bag, and I told him what was in my bag. He asked me obviously why it was in my bag. And I told him, and I told him what I was going to do. And I cried. He cried. I remember it was like straight out of, you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
Never.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, I hate y'all.
What is that movie about? I feel like I've heard of it. It's a good movie, right? Like a classic?
Yeah, Matt Damon, he's this really smart guy, but he was like abused when he was growing up. And he has like these trust issues, commitment issues. He talks to Robin Williams, who's his shrink. Mm-hmm. And at the end, Robin Williams said, you see this isn't your fault. And he's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, no, look at me. It's not your fault. And he's like, I know. And he's like, no, look at me. It's not your fault. And then Matt Damon starts crying up, and he's like, don't fuck with me. Don't touch me. And he was like, it's not your fault. And then, they end up hugging. The he ends up fixing his ways, fixes his commitment issues. It's a great movie, but it was straight out of a scene like that. That's and changed my life. And you know, it just kind of opened me up to who I was. And once I started to write about how I felt, I understood myself better. And then that's when I started to realize, like, oh, I'm really not like who I am around here when I go to school. It's really not who I am. I'm this person. Why do I put this bullshit around myself? And then that's how I started to break it down. I think just with writing about how I felt made me realize who I really was. And then when you find out who you really are, you find out also who you're not. So
definitely. Chris, what about you?
That's crazy. I don't think there's like a specific moment. And to tell you the truth, like middle school like days, I don't even necessarily remember too well. Like definitely elementary school, I don't remember anything. I don't have the best memory. But I'd say I had a personal experience with my family. My parents divorcing my sophomore year of high school, and it kind of led me to have this kind of like I don't care about anything or anyone type of personality. I was very like cold-hearted. I started like failing classes, and that was never like me. I started just not caring about school, started not caring about everything, you know. So I used that as an excuse to, you know, not care. But I realized that wasn't like the right road to go down. I noticed it messed up my GPA. I noticed it messed up opportunities that I could have had for college and whatnot. But I kind of used that to shape me, I guess, as a better person than I am today. I just realized that I want to be different than my parents, and I want to, you know, lead by example and not, you know, succumb to the, you know, the level that I was on when they had split. And because of that, you know, I just try to, you know, be positive. I have like a very, you know, positive energy and outlook on life. I try to, man, like everyone's so similar. It's crazy that, like, you know, we all really like root back to just being, you know, people here on this planet. Which is super wild. You know, we're only here for, you know, X amount of years, but, you know, I don't know. It's just I think life is a very interesting and complex thing, and it's like there's never a need to, you know, feel like a bad person or be a bad person for that matter, because, you know, you just never know. You never know what's going to happen in your life, and you never know how long you're going to be here for, or you know, anything like that. So
no, I definitely agree. I was gonna say, like, I didn't really know you that well. Obviously, we didn't go to the same high school, Brendan. But I do know Chris. Chris definitely changed tremendously since we stopped going to the same school together, because he went to Palm Beach Central. After that, I didn't see him for probably 2 or 3 years, and then we reconnected through Water Buffalo, and he changed a lot, which is a good thing, obviously, right? We all were driven in different ways. You, I think, with the music. Me with the business and school. Chris with making money, because I know I've never, you know, back in the day. I don't know if you remember, Chris, but we never, I mean, I never really had money back in the day. And I don't know if you ever had money like that.
No, definitely not. I mean, my parents were never like wealthy parents, you know. They would definitely help me out. They'd give me money and stuff like that. But I had to always work kind of for my money. I started working, you know, when I was like 16, I believe, you know, 17 maybe. Old Navy right here on 441. That was my first job.
Yeah, he was always the one that was working before everybody else. That's what I was going to say. Like, I think, would you say when you got that job with, let's say the one you worked for like a couple of years, was when things started to pick
where I was traveling from city to city?
Yeah.
I would say that was probably like my first big boy job. You know, I was like actually making good money, and you know, it was more full time. I was gone for like 3 months at a time. But
is that's what kind of like made you a man?
I wouldn't say maybe a man, you know. I feel as though, you know, I always kind of had the concept of money. You know, I've always valued it, and I always know what working was, you know. But like when I started that job, that is when like I was actually paying like full-time bills for the first time, paying rent, paying a car payment, paying car insurance. So like it made me realize like you almost have to do that, you know. Like you have to put in that work and that time, you know, in order to you know, just get by.
Definitely. Yeah. Yours obviously was music and poetry, right? Was what got you out of all that stuff, all the bad times, I would say.
I'll give it all to poetry. Music I didn't really do until later. I've always wanted to. I didn't do, but no, definitely poetry.
Would you say music was obviously is a byproduct of the poetry? Because your songs are basically.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to do music. Always had a passion for it since I was a little kid. I just always would tell myself that's impossible. Everyone does music, but when I did poetry, it was just all poetry, and I incorporate that into the music now.
Yeah.
With the songs I write, but poetry was the catalyst for change for sure. Because I didn't really know how to look at myself other than like a mirror. I really know how to internally look at myself and pinpoint what's wrong until I put pen to paper.
Yeah, definitely.
There's that one video of you on your Instagram of you doing that for the first time. I watched that probably like 10 times.
Which
one of you on stage at Wellington High School? You posted it like multiple times, I think.
Oh, that wasn't even at Wellington. I was in this poetry competition.
Yeah, that one. The one you were on stage, a black lit stage.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was the most. I remember after that, I cried.
It's an extremely emotional, overwhelming experience.
Yeah, I did that poem 3 times. It's the only bully I've ever had. The first time I did the poem, I cried so bad. I was going to the poem and you were and I was like, fuck. And I was like, don't be a pussy, bro. Fuck it, suck it up. And I was like, and it was terrible. And somehow I got all 10s and I went to the next round and I was like, what? And then I did it the second time, and the second time was all anger. It was all anger. It was a poem about my stepdad, and part of my real dad too. And then the second time was all anger, and I was like, and Mr. Lafsher was like, the first one was good, or the second one was I don't know which one was the best. And then the third one was the perfect. I can't
composure, but a little bit anger.
It was the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Interesting.
The anger and the tears. And then I remember walking off. That's top 10 favorite moments of my life. I remember saw my mom to the side, my little sisters.
Did you ever grow at the time?
No, I was single. Single as a Pringle. And then I saw Mr. Lobster, and I was like, those are my people.
No, what was the third one about? You said the first one
It was the same poem.
Same poem.
Same poem all 3 times.
You do them each round. So I went from the first bout to then semifinals and then finals, and you compete with all the other people in Palm Beach County or Southern Florida, not just Palm Beach County.
Okay.
So Miami, everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
And it won me the competition.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
Would you say that the relationship changed you then, Chris? If it wasn't the job? Because my relationship, my ex-girlfriend was probably a really big turning point in my life. Not her specifically, but that was the moment. Because me and you were both a part of Greek life in college. Yeah. And we both know that it comes with a lot of it's not bad things. Well, obviously bad things, but it comes with a lot of distractions.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Once that I took that shift of getting away from Greek life was when things changed for me a lot, tremendously. Because I started the water buffalo. Well, I started back up on my social media with the old school math stuff, and then it turned one thing to another. And now we're sitting here doing a podcast. But I think that you didn't get to go to college, right, Brendan?
No, I not that I didn't get to go. Chose not to.
You chose not to. So you never got to experience Greek life and whatnot, obviously. No. But what's your perspective on that, Chris?
I mean, I would say that the experience was life changing for sure. Greek life and just college in general. I made a lot of connections. My first big boy job where I was traveling from city to city.
I'm gonna put this out there real quick. Good and bad, not just bad things. I was putting it in a bad light. I have made a lot of good connections out of my fraternity for sure.
Yeah. That's what I was going to talk about first, but I definitely have some experiences for the bad side as well. But as far as the good, I made good connections, and as far as networking, I had my first real job via somebody I met through my fraternity. Worked there for 2 years and got the experience to get the job that I currently do have, which was pretty dope. And I also made lifelong friends, people that will call me every week, to check up on me and to see how I'm doing and what's going on in my life. And that shit's crazy. It's really dope. And the coolest part is that it's people from all over, even people from cities that are so close to home, like Fort Lauderdale and Davie and stuff like that. But I would have never known them unless I had went to Jacksonville, which is completely opposite, all the way up the coast. But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool time. It really was. But I did also, waste a lot of money. I probably did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done necessarily, but
Yeah.
not that I regret them at all, you know, because you do learn from all your mistakes and all your, you know, experiences. But yeah, all in all, I definitely would not change a thing. I think going to school and rushing a fraternity in general was something I needed.
Have you ever have like a party phase before, Brendan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say my senior year.
High school?
High school, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I didn't get too crazy because by that point I had already been pretty well into poetry, but that's when I started doing stuff like you know, acid, shrooms. Everyone smokes, but yeah, I would get kind of crazy there, and I definitely had a drinking problem too because I like to drink. I just like I never drank to get drunk, but I always liked. I don't like vodka. When we did that shot, I was like fucking
I didn't even take it because it was just like, dude, come on. Who takes shots of straight vodka, dude? You're literally a psychopath if you do that. Like,
See, I went hard for like.
You need to go to AA. Like if you take shots of straight vodka.
I went hard for probably 2 semesters or a semester and a half,
Yeah.
but thankfully, but not. I mean, like I said, everything happens for a reason. But I got into a relationship, so like that pulled me out of that. And that's what flipped my life around a little bit. Not her specifically, because fuck her. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that whole, you know, getting out. Because when you have a girlfriend, it's different, right, Chris? Like when you were with a said person, your involvement in Greek life changes a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely.
Even if they're in Greek life too, because there's a type of commitment you need to have with someone in a relationship that you can't do when you're in Greek life.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I went from, you know, being able to go to every single party, every single event that we had, you know, wilding out, you know, going out there, showing out, doing the most, to, you know, going to select few events. You know, it was just different. You know what I'm saying? Like to tell you the truth, I feel like for a lot of fraternities, you know, like you're going out there to party, meet girls, you know, have fun. And there's nothing wrong with doing that while you're in a relationship. I'm not saying the meeting the girls part, but like bringing them to the party, you know, like there was times where that would happen for me. And it's still just as fun, you know. It's just a different type of fun, you know. It's just a completely different approach, you know, different.
Yeah, definitely. So, I was gonna ask you too, Brendan. Did you ever think that you missed out because you didn't get to have a good college, or are you cool with your experience that you've had in life so far?
No. I would hear crazy party stories, and then I'd be like.
But do you really miss it, or when you think back and you analyze, you're like, I wouldn't have cared that much.
No, because I did crazy shit my whole life, really, pretty much until, like I said, up until I started getting not only involved with poetry, but also being a good role model for my little sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because you know they didn't have that good role model, a good male role model, I'll say. But I'd always done crazy stuff, and I had plenty of fun. So, you know, I never felt like I missed out, even still now. And like now, I'm coming stronger in my faith.
Yeah.
And obviously now I don't do a lot of stuff that even I would do maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't smoke.
You only eat edibles. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't. Yeah. It's a little slip and slide there, but yeah, you know, it's just nah. I have my fill.
Do you miss fraternity life a little bit? Because Chris still goes out once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, more than once in a while, unfortunately. But nah, I would not say I miss it, honestly. As far as like the partying aspect goes, like it really was just like glorified partying where you paid money to do so. But
could you have gone without it? You think? Let's say you met all those kids anyway. Could you have gone without the partying?
100%. If it came down to just where I was able to network the same way I did and meet the same people and have the same connections that I did, then 100% I think I would pass out.
How much money do you think you've spent on? I guess both of you. How much money do you guys think you guys have spent on alcohol, partying, and XXX drugs?
Couldn't even put a number on it. It's no idea.
Definitely
lot.
over $1,000 for sure.
Oh, way.
Come on, dude.
Over $1,000 in one weekend, maybe.
Yeah, we're just
dude.
letting the
That's like
minimum
formal
be
weekend.
known.
Yeah, I'm talking like
Yeah, 20, 30, 40.
50, like
Yeah.
something
No.
stupid. Like,
To be honest, I've always found myself, I always had that luck of being with somebody that would always bring something or get something. So
Okay.
I didn't have to shell out too much.
Yeah,
But yeah, if I would, it'd probably be a bottle or something.
oh man.
But even till I was like 19, I remember anytime we were with people and got ounces, I was just with someone who got ounces, and I really didn't have to pay much.
See, yeah,
So I
but-
just always I recognized it too, and I was like, I don't really have to pay for shit.
yeah.
And then
Hey, there's nothing wrong.
Chris,
There's nothing wrong with
Chris is the guy who'll go get a table.
that. Yeah,
He's that
I'm the guy that I'll
Yeah.
be paying for.
Yeah,
it.
he's
Yeah.
he's the guy you have to hang out with.
they're like,
I don't know. I like to have fun, so I don't mind. I don't mind spending the money to do so. You know, if I'm having fun. But yeah, dude. As far as like spending money goes, like when you're in college or you're with your friends, like there's nights where you're going out 3, 4, 5 nights in a row. You know, where you're spending at least $100 a night. Between like that's just a random number, but like I mean you have to calculate your Uber, the drinks, the drugs, the whatever you're doing, the food you're gonna eat at some point. Like when you're drunk as hell, you're gonna want food.
Yeah, it's like a $50 to
It's an
$60
investment, dude. It's
minimum
like-
for like a going out, right? I would say about $50-$60.
If you're going to Clematis, stop. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the
$100
Uber back home,
yeah,
$60.
$100 investment.
So you gotta think bigger than that. And
You guys ever feel bad when you do that? You're like, dude, what am I doing? Like, have you ever had one of those nights where you're like,
Absolutely.
I'm $190 in, I should be home right now.
man, there's nights
Yeah.
where
I've had those. I feel like Chris, maybe not so much because you really, I could tell you enjoy it.
I
And you
enjoy it
slow
so
down a
much,
little bit.
but that doesn't matter. Like there's been numerous times where it's 5 a.m. I'm walking out of the strip club and I'm disappointed in myself because I had just spent my whole paycheck that week, and it's just like not something you should do. Not something that not something you should do. But
if there's ever a time to do it, it's now.
Oh,
it's
100%.
It's when we're younger.
I disagree.
No,
I would say that the best time to do it is when you have money, so you don't have to. That's why we were talking about traveling earlier. It's a good segue, but I'll let you say what you have to say. But
No,
I would rather travel and have fun and party when I have money, because I don't want to have to look at my budget to see what I'm going to spend on stuff. You know what I mean?
I'm more so
Absolutely.
speaking in the aspect of I think it's better to make mistakes, all the mistakes, make all of the mistakes when you're younger, because you're just getting ahead of the curve when it comes to wisdom, and then you'll make so many mistakes where you're like, okay, well, hey, that was fucking stupid. I'm gonna do this with my finance. I'm gonna invest in this. I'm gonna put this in my savings. I'm gonna go about this. I don't really need to go to the club that much, and then by the time you can do exactly what you just said, when you're older, you have a way better sense of finance, and then you've made so many mistakes that maybe the person sitting across from you hasn't made, but they also don't have that same amount of wisdom, because that's what it takes to get wise. Experience. That's can't just be taught. Like
You don't think that we had a conversation with the other day. I also agree. I don't think that many people can take the words that we're saying now. Well, let's say the kid in high school right now, 18 years old, watching this podcast, and he's hearing me saying, hey, you should, if you're going to think about going out all weekend, your freshman year of college, just save that money and put it into an investment account. Or, hey, if you really like, let's say you're really good at drawing, you should start making designs, start selling them. 99.9% of the kids out there wouldn't listen to what I have to say, and they just go do it and make a mistake anyway.
Because he's thinking, well, that's you. I'm different.
Yeah.
And that's what we all think. We've all had people tell us like, hey.
No, but I've never had anyone tell me that. That's the only
Never.
thing. No, never. Unfortunately, I never had a mentor tell me like, hey, dude, you shouldn't be going out. You shouldn't be spending money. And thank God I didn't spend too much of my time in college doing that. That would have pushed me back, but I never had anybody tell me that. A lot of people told me that you should enjoy college. And I think you should enjoy college too, but I think that you need to be aware of the choices you make,
Right.
because the world moves so quickly nowadays that one weekend could turn into 1 month, could turn into one semester. It could be the difference between you getting that job you've always wanted and you not getting it.
100%.
Or you taking an extra semester at school when someone else just graduated the year before you, and now they have, they're working at that firm that's not going to hire you anymore. You know what I mean?
Enjoy it with discretion.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing in my
Moderation.
opinion. Yeah, in moderation. But it's so hard,
But
Because once you're in it, like Chris, you talk about moderation being in a fraternity. There's no moderation when you're out, when you're, in it.
Nah, not necessarily. There's not, but when people do say that you should have fun in college, I think it's all to an extent. Like you should have fun and you should enjoy that. But when you are going all in, like when you know what I'm saying, like it's something you're doing 4 or 5 days a week. It's like there's no moderation in that. Like that's like a full-time job in itself. Like it's like
it is, dude. It's
waking up,
really
recovering, like making sure that you're okay to go again the next night. And it's like
these kids rally too, dude. I mean, me and him have probably partied with some of the craziest fraternities / people in Florida, if not the whole U.S. Kids our age, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't think so?
I mean, U.S. is a bold statement. Like that's there's a lot of different colleges.
I mean, I'm not talking about like rappers or people that are like super famous, but when I'm talking about fraternity lives, like I don't know how it was at UNF, but UF, like they do it up. Like the experiences I've had have been, from what I've seen, have been like top of the line.
For sure.
I mean, even like the kids you hang out with in Gainesville, they hang out. Those are like the best of the best in the state.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely say that they're very, very good times and everything. It's just like I can't speak for other places that I've never been before, such as like other big, well-known colleges like on the West Coast or in New York or Arizona State, like places that are like well known for being rowdy and rambunctious.
Right.
I can't tell what they're doing over there. I have no idea.
What's your whole opinion on the fraternity life, Brennan, being outside of it?
I really can't say I have too much of one since I'm on the outside of it, and I barely know what goes on in a fraternity. I just know what I see in the movies and what I know from what some of my friends tell me. But I think that's cool. Like you said, there's good that comes out of it, the networking, the people, the experiences, like Kevin Hart, I think he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was saying that one thing he's learned is the best thing to blow money on is experiences, not like material things, because material things, they break. But experiences will either teach you something or you have a really good memory. One way or the other, you usually get one of the two.
Of course.
So, yeah. And like I said, I think the best time to be like that's the plus side to it, but then on the negative side, I think the best time to be reckless, to have fun, get stupid, is when you're younger. And making mistakes sucks and it can lead to bad things, but in the long term, if you learn how to leap over an obstacle instead of getting stuck on one, you come out of it wiser than a lot of other people that didn't have that, So there's probably a lot of aspects of life that you guys are wiser than me in, because I didn't go to a fraternity, and vice versa.
I feel that.
I
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree on that. What about the people that take it and they use it as a crutch, though? Like the kids that are in debt in college and they have $60,000, $70,000 in student loan debt, and they got a degree in XYZ and they can't find a job after school. You think that's their responsibility to hold themselves accountable for their actions, their misplacements, their misjudgments throughout college? Because some people get lucky. Some people have parents that could just bail them out, but then there's other kids that I would say is a pretty good percentage that get caught up in the lifestyle of college and they get fucked, or I wouldn't say hundreds of thousands, but close to hundreds of thousands in student loan debt, and returning back to school or being unable to find jobs because of the poor choices that they made in college.
Yeah. Do I think that's...
No, I'm saying, do you think that like what would you say to someone like that? Because obviously like we can make mistakes, but there's a certain amount of mistakes you can make to where you might fuck yourself for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
And I would say, those are the choices you made. But nothing's impossible.
Yeah, of course. It just makes it harder for yourself.
Yeah, it's harder for yourself. But even that, I look at as that's the potential right there to overcome everything. Because chances are, if that happened, that's not the only aspect of your life you've been in debt in. And not necessarily just with finance, but, spiritually in debt, or just relationship, not romantically, but friendship. Emotionally, just... Chances are, if you're that much in the hole, it's not just with finance, but it sucks. You did it.
Because I know people that have struggled because once they get out of college, like I said, they haven't been able to find jobs. And it's unfortunate that I can name more people than not. They go to a really good school like UF, and they're working out like Panera Bread right now and shit like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. Like, we all have to go through what we have to go through. Yeah. But if they would have made better decisions in college and would have held themselves more accountable, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's easy for me to say because I'm not in that, and I'm not in that position. But from the outside looking in, I would say,
like you take a tough luck sort of thing. Like you did what you had to do. Like,
not really tough luck, but you got to eat that, and you got to work harder than everyone else around you now because like you can't find a job. But as hard as it may be, and again, I'm not in their shoes, so maybe it's a thing where I can speak on it, and someone hearing this like, oh, you don't fucking understand what I'm talking about. You've never been there. But I would say you got to eat that, and you got to work harder than everyone else in the room, no matter what it's in, no matter what you got a degree in. You got to work harder than everyone else in the room and just be consistent. But that's like the thing for anything in life, just consistency. If you work hard at it, you perfect your craft if you have a craft, and you're consistent with it. It's just a matter of time.
What would you say, Chris?
Man, I'd 100% say it is that person's fault. If their bad choices in college led them to a poor career in their life. Just like Brandon was saying, like even if it means you have to work harder for it, at the end of the day, like you put yourself in that position because of the decisions you made, you know what I'm saying? So you should have to work harder for it, and you should almost have to make up for lost time, because instead of studying that Friday, you went to happy hour and drank, and that's something you have to deal with, something you have to live with. That's your decision.
So you made that sacrifice, Chris, when you had to go away from work, right? That would be kind of like your sacrifice towards trying to catch up with stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that I essentially gave up the Greek life. I gave up, my college career or whatever, because I realized that I had put myself in kind of this hole, and that I needed to start busting ass, making money, and doing it for myself, because no one else was going to do it for me, So yeah, I would definitely say it was a sacrifice that I made that kind of, evolved me into the real world and took me kind of out of like that college state and making those decisions I was making.
Because Brenna, you're like, I mean, you don't care if I talked about your political views on here?
Okay.
No, because you're a libertarian, and that has a lot to do with not really much politics, but more like personal responsibility. Yeah. So that's what I was kind of trying to get out of you, and I think I got what people should hear is that, even if you're in the hole, it's like kind of like your own fault. And not that we shouldn't feel sorry for you, but you kind of made those decisions that is making life harder on you. Yeah. And we all make those decisions, and that's why I try to put out content and information to try to help people that, maybe one mistake that you fix today is not going to make or break your life, but the collection of, catching that mistake early over time is what really has changed my life. Lifting, the business, everything, dude, like work, whatever it may be, relationships and whatnot. Like once you start catching mistakes and instead of just letting them happen, like you can make a mistake, just don't repeat the mistake the best you can. You start to like get ahead, and that's when you really start to get a grip on life, is when you realize what your mistakes are and you catch them before they happen.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because it's just more wasted time.
And just like you said, it's not a thing of like, no, tough luck, I don't care. No, I could definitely, and I do sympathize a lot with that, and I feel for people that are in the situation, like we all do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I could feel for you and still let you know, hey, you brought yourself there. It doesn't matter. You can bring yourself out. It's not going to be as easy as what I might have to do, or what you might have to do, or what you might have to do. But we're not talking about if it's going to be easy or not. We're just going to say it's possible. All right, work 3 times harder than, and yeah, it's easier said than done. But if you really want it, you'll do it.
Of course.
I believe that. And but that just goes for anything too. Not just, like I was saying, if chances are, if you're like that, you're down the hole financially. Like there's people who have said, there's people who are always in toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, well,
we're gonna get into this now.
Yeah, we get into that. We get into it. Let's cook up. So there's people who are in toxic relationships, and they'll say, well, yeah, my father or my mother never really showed me what a love relationship is. So I've heard that from guys and girls talking about why their relationships, don't blossom. And, when you're young, that's fine. You're going to have a lot that don't blossom. And that's how you learn how to eventually get one to blossom. But it's a group effort. But a lot of people that use that crutch, use the crutch in romance or finance and just anything. Once you do that, it's really hard. You're going to have to pull yourself out. No one else is going to do it for you.
100%. And I mean, it could be used in education as well, like in schooling. Like my parents didn't go to school, so, I don't, it's something new to you. So they kind of blame that as an excuse to, fail classes or whatnot. And the reason I even brought that up is because, that's kind of like what I was doing, and I would say, it is like using a crunch, but it's almost like playing the sympathy card, like trying to blame everyone but yourself, for the situation that you're in. And when my parents had split up, I had kind of done that a lot myself. I was blaming them for things that I was doing personally, as far as like skipping school or failing classes. But at the end of the day, like nothing will be truly fixed until you do it, for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
And it's like, even, my father, at the end of the day, I'm my father's child, but he was a very violent man. He would just get lost in it. Like, you just see the look in his face, and it was like, he wasn't like beating his kid. He was beating somebody on the street. But I remember when I would help, and I want to do a disclaimer too. My mom never asked me to help raise my sisters. I just had to step up, and I knew I did. But when I would, and they wouldn't listen, instinctively, because of how my father would react to the same things I would do, I'll be ready to smack my sister in the face, or punch. And I was like, whoa, why am I getting these,
get like this anger,
these urges? Yeah. And at that moment, I had the chance to either just repeat the cycle or break it. And then one day when I'm a father, if I'm lucky enough, I'm going to have that same situation. Do I say I'm a product of my environment and say, this is all I know, is a savage beatdowns and cable cords and or now I know it's wrong. I know how it made me feel. Do I internalize it, let that go, and break the cycle? And that's the choice we're going to have. My father had that same choice. He had the same upbringing that he did to me with his mom. He repeated the cycle. And then, like I said, one day I'll have that same opportunity. But I can assure you, when that day comes, I can assure you I'm going to break that damn cycle.
That's a good way of looking at it.
That's
Definitely.
Definitely. The thing you said about relationships too, I agree. I think a lot of times people put themselves in bad relationships to start, and they like get with the wrong people. Because like when you get into a relationship, now I'm wiser on it. I feel like once you get that one relationship that kind of like molds you, what you look for after. I think we've all had pretty long-term relationships here, so we kind of have an idea of what we want out of a partner. That whole thing of like you kind of, and this kind of circles back again to another topic we talked about before, me and Levi, is like, I think that a lot of times, I would say 90% of the time, our problems that we create are from ourselves. When people are like, hey, I can't get in shape, hey, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's like, I would say 90 to 95% of the time, it's like you create that own problem. Like, you can't get in shape because like you don't know anything about dieting and you don't go to the gym, so how do you expect to stay in shape? You know what I mean? Or Google it. Or like relationships, for example, like, oh my God, I can't be with this girl, she does this and that. Then why'd you start the relationship to begin with? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And you're the one. It's not like she's forcing you to be with her, right? You know what I mean? Or him or whatever, him with her or whatever. So as another, you think you create your own problems?
100%. Definitely, you create your own problems. Absolutely.
Like, I think every single problem I've ever had in my entire life, I've created it myself in some way. Obviously, there's like, I don't know, if I've got hit by someone in a car or something like that, it's not my fault. Right. But majority of the times, like the problems, like for example, this past weekend when I went and competed this weekend, The reason why I didn't do as well as I should have done is because I honestly wasn't very prepared with the rule book that had to do with the powerlifting thing. All I had to do was read a rule book and maybe get 2 or 3 extra hours of sleep the night before instead of fucking watch TV or some shit. You know, trying to do too many things at once and you get screwed over. Same thing with relationships, same thing with school, same thing with, you know, you went out to whatever bar, or maybe you went back home instead of studying or whatever, and that's, you created yourself from failing that class because you could have spent extra time doing what you had to do to get it done. Or let's say you get fired, for example, from a job. You know, when you're at that job, you've had many times where they've told you, hey, you shouldn't do this, hey, you shouldn't do that, and you've just done it one too many times, and now you fucked yourself, and now you're fired. So that's how I feel. I feel like most of the problems that we create come within ourselves.
And even if let's say they're problems that don't come from within yourself, you also got to, there's some part of you that has to take responsibility for some part of that mistake or that problem.
So you think every single problem has a little bit of percentage of what happening to us? Like it has to do with us?
I think it's a mix. I think a lot of them we create, and then even if there's ones that, like you say, like, well, I didn't create this, but okay, but acknowledge your responsibility for your part in it still.
Yeah, you had just said something about like, oh, like what if you got hit by a car? Like, yeah, I guess like you didn't create that problem, but like if you got hit by a car because you were walking on the road late night because, you know, whatever, like you had a little bit of influence in that situation because you were there at the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, like even.
So you don't feel bad for people that get into, let's just take this for example. You can take this however you want. Let's say you were going out with your friends and you guys get into the car and you guys were drinking a little bit and there happens to be an accident and let's say you weren't the one driving, but you got in that car and now you're dead. Would you think that some of that's your fault?
Absolutely, because I got into a car with someone who's been drinking.
What do you think, B? Because there's a lot of people that pass away, and I mean, unfortunately, it happens way too often that people die because of driving under the influence. But you know, sometimes maybe it was our fault at the end of the day because we were in that car with that person that knew that what they were doing. They knew that they were driving. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say you have to take ownership of that.
That's what I ever said. If I ever die in a way that's like really dumb, really stupid, like don't feel bad for me. Because like, I mean, if I were to like get in, you know, if I were to drive, I would never do this, but if I were to drive under the influence, like I wouldn't want people to like, you know, cry and be like, oh my God, poor him. No, because it's my own problem. You know,
like you fucked yourself in that situation because like you're doing something you weren't supposed to be doing in the first place.
And different severity, but also like, you know, when people were like, you know, free my guy. And then you're like, hey, your guy's in there because he like murdered 3 people. I don't know. It's like it's like, don't feel bad for me if I did something stupid, overly wrong,
or
and
well
it's my
deserved,
fault.
like
it's well deserved. Hey, I that's my place to deal with. I probably deserve it. But yeah.
It's an interesting thing to think about because in our society today, a lot of times we like to throw the blame on others. I see it way too often. I'm not going to get into specifics, but like it happens like way more than it should. A lot of times that we find ourselves in issues and problems because we create them ourselves, and then we expect people to like bail us out. And that's the hardest thing, because that's why I'm kind of circling back this whole conversation. Like you need to be really, like you said, with discretion. You need to have discretion in life, because if you don't have discretion, it could be that one time where you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or you miss the wrong opportunity. That was the big shot that you're going to get. Not saying that we have big opportunities every day that come across in life. It's not like one day defines us. It's a collection of days that define us. But it could be that one kink in your armor, that like Achilles heel. It could be that one thing that kind of screws you up for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it many times. Many athletes too. For example, like one stupid move during training, trying to do something dumb on video or something could fuck their whole careers up.
Yeah, or this like celebration after a touchdown. I've seen people like tear their ACLs and shit like that. It's like,
I don't know if you guys saw the video online the other day of the guy ripping his chest on incline bench. You see the Larry Wheels video?
I did.
No.
I feel like I might have.
You seen that?
I feel like I might have.
But I mean,
that makes sense. I saw people comment. It wasn't that video, but it was a video of someone doing incline, and I saw the comments were like, "Is that incline?" Nah, bro. Nah, and I was like, "What are they talking about?" So
there was a video of a guy who was attempting to do I think 6 plates, and he tore his pec. Not saying that it was his fault. Obviously, he was just working out. But obviously, there was a little bit of ego in there, and that's what kind of scared me with the powerlifting stuff, because I'm like, I don't want to push myself too much to where, like, if I were to hurt myself, bro, that's my own damn fault. and I'm loading the bar up with 500-600 pounds on whatever I'm doing, if I were to fucking tear my quad or ACL or throw my back out, like, yeah, it sucks, but you didn't force me to put that on the in the bar, you know what I mean?
No.
So, but
and that's weird. Now, like I said, as I'm, developing in my faith, I'm really starting to leave less things up to chance and more, God's plan. And, like as human beings, naturally, like we only look through these set of eyes our whole life. So like, to me, I'm the main character of my story. You're the main character. You're the main character.
I'm the villain.
Yeah, you're the villain. We leave. You're still here. I leave. You guys are still here. But maybe I'm starting to think that those things happen for a reason. Like I remember I was in the fire academy in Wellington, and I really didn't want to be there. I just was in the fire academy because I wasn't zoned for the school, and my mom wanted me to go to Wellington instead of going to Central, because like in 8th grade I started to act up, and I remember I forget what I was doing. I was walking by and we had this rope. We had to tie the rope around our waist for the fire academy, and it got loose and I tripped over it. I sprained my ankle like in the most bitch way ever, and I fell with like my back and like my head hitting Mr. Lobster's door, and I was like fuck. And Mr. Lobster opened the door, and that's the first time I saw him. And he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Oh, I just fell." And he was like, "Are you okay?" And took me to the nurse's office. I'm so bitch. And but then he was talking to me. He was like, "You thinking about doing creative writing?" I was like, "No." And I was like, "This is stupid." And I was like, "No." And he was like,
he's like, "No, it doesn't change your life."
I was like, and he was like, "No, you should think about it, man." And he kept pushing it. And then ever since I saw him, because of that, he kept seeing me, and he'd be like, "How you liking the fire academy?" And I was like, "I hate it. I don't want to be a firefighter." And he was like, "Well,
come to the dark side. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he was like, come here. He was like, "Well, if you ever want to do creative writing, just let me know." And then eventually I did, changed my life, and I feel like it's not the best example, but there's a lot of things that happen, like athletes that'll get hurt, and then find even more. Maybe not as much financial success, but even more happiness as a coach
or something
as a
that they
teacher.
yeah.
And then you kind of have to, it all depends on your faith, whether you believe that that's just coincidence or God's plan, whatever it may be. I believe it's God's plan. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's crazy.
Well, fellas, this has been a great hour. We'll close it out for this one. We got to do this again sometime real soon. Get Levi on here. Any closing remarks, Chris?
Next episode, politics.
I would love to have I really would love to have a podcast where I get some people from the left, like far left, and then far right.
You don't want that.
No, it'd be fun. Far left, far right, and then have like two level-headed people.
Moderators.
Yeah, moderators.
It'd be interesting, but you'd have to make sure that the people that were like far leftist and rightist were like very like level-headed as well, at least like we're understanding, like
I have a couple of people
it wouldn't just be like
a shit show.
Like yeah, exactly. There's a lot of beef.
I don't see it. Maybe I'm being I don't see it not being a shit show with just how the climate is today.
But it would have to be. I have people in mind that are friends of mine that I could calm down. I'm not gonna pick random people that I just didn't even know. Some kid just comes in here and fucking rips the headset off and leaves my house. But no, it would be interesting because, as much as we see it on social media, I'm sure there's debates all over YouTube and stuff like that. But people our age and see what we think, because we're the future. A lot of the big conservative liberals, libertarians are a little bit older than us. They're 30s, 35, and they talk. But it'd be interesting to get not kids, but like a young adult's perspective on all the political climate that's been heating up and stuff like that. But real quick, B, give everybody your social so they can go check you out. And he's got some dope music. I'll probably put it in for a little intro.
Oh yes, dude! Please go check out this dude right here, bro.
Hell yes.
SoundCloud, Apple Music,
Spotify. It don't matter. Spotify, Apple Music, all those platforms is Kairos, Kairos. Social media handle is the official Kairos altogether. Again, Kairos. Yeah, I got that right. And check out my music. Whether you like indie, whether you like R&B, you like a little pop, country, I got that too. Everything you need, I got. He's a man of everything. And Chris, if you want to give people your socials to check you out.
He's been the,
we don't need any of that. But check me out. One thing that I do have as a closing remark. Dude, go buy some fucking buff sauce, please.
Let's get started.
What are you doing? If you haven't gotten it yet, like, go do yourself a favor. Check out this man's website. Get yourself a shirt. Get yourself some pre-workout and go get fucking big in the gym. For real.
Yes,
Stop
sir.
making
Yes, sir.
excuses. It's
Fucking
bullshit.
He's the star of our workout stuff on Water Buffalo now. But anyways, guys, it's been a dope podcast. We'll definitely do it again, bro. I definitely want to have Levi on with us do a podcast. It'd be really fun.
Yeah, it would be cool.
And then, maybe me and you, B, can get. I'm sure you know some liberal girls our age, and I definitely know a conservative chick for sure.
Yeah, I got one in mind.
I know far extremes on both sides.
No, me too.
That's
I
gonna
do.
be fun.
I do too.
Nah.
But anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys for checking out this video. Make sure to check out all the other Buff Talks, Spotify, YouTube, all the other platforms streaming for podcasts. I'm Old School Matt for Brendan Oliveira and Chris Trevino. We're out.
Peace.
Guys.
Peace.
All right, fellas.
Smooth. Are you serious about this political podcast?
Yeah, that'd be fun, dude.
Damn, that was really an hour though that we were talking. That's kind of crazy.
Hey guys, thank you guys for checking out this video. We're so grateful to have you here on our YouTube channel. So make sure to check out all of our other videos ranging from a variety of different type of podcasts to our Buffalo barbecues. Check out our YouTube channel for constant updates on all the stuff that we have going on. You can also follow us on social media like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So check us out there. Water Buffalo Training Method. We're out.
Thanks for watching WBTM. Subscribe, like, and buy something. It's how we feed Lawrence.